Who exactly is the mysterious woman who was by Jin's side as he smiled under the twilight sky of Jeju Island? Why didn't he celebrate his album's incredible achievement with the other BTS members?
Done?
Is that really Shin Seokjin? Behind the happiness, there is a big question mark that makes the ARMY wonder. Is this the end of something we have always believed in? Have you ever felt as if there is something inexpressible, something hidden behind the quiet laughter and gentle smile of a star we love? Is it possible that amid the glimmer of victory and Asia's chart topper, Jin is keeping a secret that makes fans feel alien to his celebrations? Jeju Island is always full of beauty, but who would have thought that the place became a silent witness of something that is now fueling endless speculation? Jin, BTS's oldest and softest person, recently reached a major milestone in his solo career. Her album Echo ranked first on various Asian charts, even dominating the Japanese and Chinese charts for weeks. But the talk is not only of his astonishing achievements. What shook the K-pop world was who celebrated that achievement with him. In a moment that should be full of warm hugs from other BTS members, the atmosphere of a documentary shoot, or a small party with the staff who have accompanied him since day one, Jin is precisely seen alone. Or maybe not entirely on their own, but a photo taken secretly by locals on Jeju Island shows Jin sitting in a seafront cafe. He was wearing a black hoodie and a hat that covered most of his face. But what stole more attention was the figure of the woman sitting in front of him, long-haired, wearing a pastel sweater and looking to laugh in a very way familiar. The observant soldiers immediately felt that the woman's face was familiar. And speculation was immediately rolling wild. Is it Shin Seokjin? Shin Seokjin, a famous South Korean actress, known for her calm but strong roles, and has never been involved in scandals that really damaged her image. But is this him? And if so, what really happened between him and Jin? Are they really in a relationship? And more than that, is this the reason why Jin chose not to celebrate his album with BTS? Suddenly, question after question sticking. Why didn't Jin mention any BTS members in his thank you note at the end of his album? Why wasn't a single HYB staffer seen accompanying him in the last series of promotions? Why didn't Taehyung upload anything about Jin when the album was released, when they had always supported each other before? Is there something being hidden? Some fans even expressed that they felt abandoned. Jin has always been known as a figure who appreciates the team, who always mentions the ARMY and members in every step. But now, he seems to be aloof, or deliberately choosing someone outside of BTS's circle to accompany an important moment in his life. And another surprise came. Some netizens claim to see Jin and the woman Shin Seokjin allegedly came out of a private villa in Jeju that was rented for 3 days. One of the inn staff, who voted anonymous, said that their VIP guests booked the place well in advance with very specific instructions. No staff, no photographers, no distractions. He's very polite. But what we're curious about is that private request. There is not even a staff from the label attached to it. Usually celebrities come with an entourage, said the staff. Now the speculation is getting wild. Is Jin really in love? Is this the reason why he seems calmer, yet also more distant? And even more surprising, is this relationship the main reason why Jin refused HYB's request to hold an album celebration with BTS and ARMY? Many fans considered this such a slow but painful blow. Not because Jin is not entitled to his own personal happiness, but rather because the way he celebrates his success is like getting away from everything. One ARMY senior wrote on the forum, "We don't need fancy parties." But seeing Jin not share his happiness with the other members, not even mentioning them, feels like losing something that used to make BTS feel like family. Even more heartbreaking, some fans noticed that in the album's title track, the lyrics seemed to imply about letting go of the past that was too crowded and finding peace in one look. Does this mean Jin is starting a new life with a new person outside of BTS's shadow? HYB herself did not issue an official statement about who the woman was. But local media began to piece together the pieces of the puzzle. Some said that Jin and Shin Seokjin had been involved in advertising projects several years ago and had been in an elite Korean artist friend group that often held private gatherings. Is it from there that the seeds of their closeness grow? However, The most heartrending was Jimin's expression when asked about Jin's album in a brief interview of his solo promotion. He just smiled and said, "I haven't had a chance to talk to him directly, but I know she must be happy." A sentence that sounds sincere but also implies an unusual distance. Did Jin deliberately taking distance from BTS? Was this part of his inner healing process after serving in the army? Or does he just want to live in his own way, without public expectations? But if so, is this a sign that BTS is starting to crack emotionally? The army is now divided. There are those who support Jin and his freedom, but not a few who feel disappointed with his way of keeping his distance from those who have always stood with him. And the mystery of who the woman in Jeju is still not fully revealed, but for sure, one sentence continues to ring in the heads of many fans tonight. Why did Jin choose to celebrate the most important moment of his life without the people he used to call home? And perhaps an even deeper question, is the genie in love or trying to forget something? But who could have guessed that an album full of achievements would be precisely the beginning of such a pronounced emotional distance? Armies around the world have been waiting for this moment ever since Jin was announced to be completing his mandatory military service soon. Many imagined a big celebration, loving uploads from the members, moments of happy tears like the one that happened when Jin departed. But in reality, silence enveloped their screens. Even more tickling is when none of the BTS members attended the ECHO album's private launch event. Not a single one. Even RM, who is usually active in supporting members, just gave a like to HYB's official promotional upload without any comment. Are they busy? Or, keeping your distance, Jungkook, who is famously closest to Jin and often talks about him respectfully, has also suddenly disappeared from social media radar for 3 full days since the album's release. It wasn't until later that he appeared on a short live broadcast, but not a word came out of his mouth about ECHO. His eyes are puffy, half smile, and when ARMY asked in the comments about Jin, Jungkook's only response was to look down, shut up, and say, "I hope everyone is happy with their choice." Is that sarcasm? Is that a form of disappointment? Or is it precisely the subtle code that something is going on behind the scenes? Not stopping there. A video recording that has not had time to be officially released by the media, but leaked among international fans, reveals something even more surprising. In the footage, Jin appears to exit Jeju Airport accompanied by a woman in a gray jacket who is strongly suspected to be Shin Se-kyung. He was seen holding his hands tightly, with his face lowered and their bodies moving very close. One of the voices from the recording, which sounded like the voice of an airport attendant, clearly said, "They're a couple. It's been a week here." The veracity of this recording is still not fully verified, but the fans do not stand still. They begin to piece together other clues, ranging from Shin Se-kyung's suddenly identical dress style to Jin's, to Instagram posts hinting at the same location at about the same time. Even in one of the promotional interviews, when Shin Se-kyung was asked about her favorite place to cool off, her answer was, "That place has a calm sea breeze and someone who makes it feel like home." Is someone a genie? In the midst of this chaos, many soldiers held their breath. Some do not believe. Some feel betrayed. But others are trying to understand. But one thing they couldn't understand was, why did Jin have to celebrate this big when outside of BTS circles? What keeps him away? Is Shin Se-kyung's special relationship really the cause? There is also speculation that Jin wants to prove that he is a true artist who can stand without the shadow of the group, without the need for member support, even without the need for publicity from HYB. But is the price of independent solitude? Or a silent betrayal of a bond that's been in place for over a decade? The words in the third song of his album also began to be analyzed. It's called Behind the Curtain. In the lyrics, Jin writes, "I dance alone, without spotlights. Only you know how I turn the steps towards home." The word "you" here is allegedly not referring to the ARMY or BTS members as usual, but someone who now really knows how to go home. And if it's Shin Se-kyung, then the question is, since when did this closeness happen? Had they secretly been in a relationship even while Jin was still active in the military? Some of HYB's former staff, through anonymous accounts on online forums, began to speak. One claimed that since 2022, Jin often mentions there is someone who gives him a sense of peace. At that time, they thought it was just a metaphor from an artist about a relationship with the army. But now, it all feels like a puzzle that one by one breaks into shocking reality. So, what about the other members? J-Hope, who usually actively provides supper. Because what happens behind the scenes is even more heartbreaking. Several anonymous sources claiming to be part of HYB's internal staff began hinting at the existence of a letter from Jimin. Yes, Park Jimin. That was sent to Jin just before the release of Echo's album. The letter reportedly contains congratulations, a wish to meet after a long time of not speaking, and this makes ARMY's heart even more sliced, an apology for something that has never been revealed to the public. The letter, according to information circulating among the closed international ARMY community, was never answered. More surprisingly, Jin reportedly returned the letter in a sealed envelope, with only one sentence on the back. There are things that cannot be fixed with words. What really happened between Jin and Jimin? Is this about HYB's deliberately hushed-up past? Or is it that their relationship has been strained for a long time and is now completely frozen? Meanwhile, the pressure on HYB is growing. Among the ARMY, hashtags such as hashtag where's BTS, hashtag Jin solo but at what cost, and hashtag we need answers began trending in various countries. The fans not only demanded transparency about the relationship between the members, but also questioned HYB's role in failing to build the narrative of togetherness as before. But perhaps the most heartbreaking thing is what happened to Taehyung in a behind-the-scenes video of this month's magazine shoot. Taehyung was accidentally caught on camera looking at his phone screen with a very blank face. The photographer tried to greet him, but he just nodded without saying anything. After the session was over, she was heard saying softly to the staff behind the camera, "I think he's coming back to us." The word "he" is believed to strongly refer to Jin. Allegations that Taehyung and Jin have a very deep emotional connection are not new among fans. The two are known to be very appreciative of each other, with many meaningful moments shared in the past. But now, it all feels like a shadow. Meanwhile, Shin Se-kyung, whose name continues to be the center of attention, remains tight-lipped. There were no official statements from his agency, no clarifications, not even new uploads on his personal account for 2 whole weeks. Some fans took this silence as indirect evidence that there was something they really wanted to hide. However, parts of the ARMY began to break into 2 camps, those who supported Jin's choice to be happy outside of BTS, and those who felt betrayed because there was no viable explanation. They asked, where's the love that they used to be proud of as an eternal family? Is Jin now really away from everything? The signs are there. Starting from the absence of promotional vlogs like other BTS members during their comeback, to the absence of BTS's name on the special thanks list in the Echo album booklet. No, there is no member name. There is only one sentence. Thank you for finally having the courage to choose. Dare to choose? Choose who? Choose what? Is this about love? Or about Jin's decision to start a completely new life, free from all the pressure, expectations, and the past? A source who declined to be named revealed that Jin had serious talks with HYB's CEO before the album's release. In the conversation, Jin is said to have asked that full creative rights be granted to him. He wants to determine his own video clip, who is involved, even whether the promotion is carried out with members or not. The request was complied with. As a result, he walks alone, without BTS, without permanent staff, without the usual shade protecting it. And now, as Jin stands at the pinnacle of success as an Asian soloist, ranking #1 in physical, digital, and international chart sales, he looks the most himself. Heartbreaking irony. What about Jungkook? He is known as a brother who greatly respects Jin. But now, in his latest Japanese radio broadcast, Jungkook said something that made many fans' hearts ache. I think not everyone wants to walk together to the end. Sometimes someone stops, turns around, and we have to accept that without asking too much. Words are like knives, smooth but deep. And if it is intended for Jin, then obviously this is not just a misunderstanding. There are wounds that are more than just differences in career choices. The question is it possible for Jin to return to BTS's lap after this? Or has it all ended quietly long ago? ARMY continues to ask, if this is Jin's happiness, Why does it feel so painful? If he loves the members, why isn't there a single celebration with them? If this was just a misunderstanding, why didn't any of them